Our meeting tonight is now open for sharing testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Dave from Florida, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Last week, I was experiencing a lot of pain in the ball of my foot and my big toe, and there was also a lot of swelling and discoloration. I asked a practitioner for help, and she told me to study hymn 324, which I did. The second verse starts with, "Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee." Also, the first verse starts with, "Take my life and let it be consecrated unto thee." In an hour, the pain, the swelling, and discoloration were absolutely gone, and it has not recurred. I'm very grateful for this quick healing, for Christian Science, to be a member of this church, and for the work of the practitioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna from Oregon, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. There's a common phrase that we've all heard many times. It goes something like this: give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish and he eats for the rest of his life. I heard that phrase on TV a few days ago and got to thinking about it. It's not only a wise statement, but something that applies to the members of our church and what we are taught here. If a man has a health problem, he goes to a doctor. The doctor gives him a drug that will make him feel better. But the next time he gets sick, he has to do the same thing all over again. It was only a temporary fix. But teach a man Christian Science, and he'll be healthy the rest of his life. Mary Baker Eddy says something along those lines in her book Miscellaneous Writings in the chapter The New Birth. Also, sometimes there can be bad or lethal side effects with drugs. There are no bad side effects with Christian Science because it comes from God. Thank you.
Thank you. Dale from Virginia, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for those wonderful readings on trusting God. I'm very grateful for all that I'm learning in this church through prayer and study, to be a witness to truth, to imbibe the Spirit, and see it practical in my life and in the world. Over Thanksgiving, my husband and I spent several days at our son's new home, where I had the opportunity for much prayer and watching. Our son had fitted an adjoining room to our guest room to be a study for me, and they were referring to it as the Christian Science reading room, which gave me a chuckle. It was a wonderful time. This past Sunday, December 6th, my son smelled a peculiar odor in the house and thought it may be a dead animal in the heating duct. The next day, he had a tech come and check the system. He found that one of three HVAC systems was malfunctioning, and the carbon monoxide levels were extremely high, and said that they were lucky to be alive. He immediately shut the system down. When our son called and told us about this, I told him, "You were protected," and reminded him later that his protection was always with him. I remember Martha Wilcox saying in the article, Overcoming by Obedience, that, quote, "True protection lies not in outward circumstances, but in spiritual thinking," end quote. And certainly, abiding in the secret place of the Most High, we can know legions of angels are all around. The odor that they smelled was from a failed heat exchanger, without which they would not have known there was a problem, as carbon monoxide has no discernible smell. God's angels were there. I'm very grateful to be learning here that error, evil, discord of any kind is not normal, is not of God. As we work continually and constantly to learn of God's allness, harmony, power, and presence, discord has no abiding place. Thank you for this service tonight.
Thank you. Joanne from Florida, go ahead.
I've been having pain in my hip joints And I have to admit that I wasn't as diligent in handling it as an aggressive suggestion of age. So as a result, this crippling pain became chronic to the point where I felt it was normal. Finally, at my husband's love and insistence, I asked a practitioner here for help. She reminded me to study daily Mrs. Eddy's article on age, which is on our website, and also to study and work with pages 390 to 393 in our textbook, Science and Health. These pages are full of wonderful, strong commands of truth, such as dispute the testimony, destroy the false process, suffer no claim, dismiss it with an abiding conviction, meet it with powerful opposition, rise in conscious strength, overthrow the plea, blot out images, rise in rebellion, banish the belief, and mentally contradict every complaint. And these were just on the first page and a half. I worked this way all day, and sometime during the day, I realized that the pain in my hips was gone. The practitioner gave me a mental wake-up to the fact that I'm not a mortal subject to any belief of age, but am a divine idea of God that could never be crippled nor inhibited in my movement in any way. I also realized that this is a daily, ongoing way of thinking, of applying the truth in our textbook, and I can't be lukewarm or inconsistent about casting out these suggestions of age. I'm so grateful for the practitioner's help with this, and I'm grateful to be here tonight and to be a member of this church that teaches and practices Mrs. Eddy's pure Christian Science. And thank you, Florence, for those beautiful readings.
Thank you. Jeremy.
I am grateful tonight for the teaching and support I have received here from my practitioner. I was thinking back today about what a wreck I used to be when watching the news, or even when people in my life would share something distressing with me that was happening in their lives. Back then, I was very limited in the ways that I could help or handle it. It was pretty much, I listen and then feel helpless. During my time studying Christian Science in Plainfield and having the support of my practitioner, I've been learning the lesson that whatever comes into your experience, you must handle with Christian Science. As an example, it began to snow today, and I thank God for how beautiful it was. But then I started working to know that the people driving in the snow had no reason to fear because God is all, and no action is beyond His control. I also knew that divine love supplies us, whatever divine love supplies us can do no harm. And because of tonight's meeting, I knew the mission of this church is from God, and He would never place any obstacle in the way of this work for the world. And there is no other power that can oppose this work. I also took some time to know that all the birds and animals have their own God-given places, and each of them are loved and protected by Him always. I'm so grateful for this teaching that has given me the ability to handle situations as they come up, instead of being handled by them as I used to be. It is wonderful to be a member of this church and for all the ways that Christian Science brings blessing into our lives. Thank you. And now I have testimony from Patricia in Ontario.
I had started working as a freelancer in an international advertising agency. However, I discovered that most all of the clients turned out to be big drug companies. I desperately needed the money to support my son, as I was a single mother without child support. But I was asking myself and trying to ask God if I should quit this job, because there were so many medical messages with strong copywriting and images everywhere. I felt really I was not in my right place. In this environment, it was tempting not to think of crossing the fence to the medical side to have a physical problem taken care of quickly so that I could press on. In a crazy work schedule and caring for a baby too, there seemed like there just wasn't enough time to pray spiritually. I was trying to resist this temptation since I knew from past healings that, as Science and Health states, Christian Science is the sovereign panacea, giving strength to the weakness of mortal mind. And the Bible says in Hebrews, "For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of thoughts and intents of the heart." Before I continue, I really should mention that I do know that there are many well-intentioned researchers in the medical field who are trying to advance the medical cause. But this is not always the case. Sometimes pure profit creeps in. For example, my boss came into the office in a rush one day and explained that she had double booked 2 appointments. She decided that since I was a strong note taker, she would send me in to a meeting to chair, and it was with a prominent drug company who was developing and promoting a new drug. And she would take the other appointment. She said, well, this is the same kind of thing they always do anyway, but she just needed an update and just needed me to take notes and report back to her. The agenda started by explaining that no research had been done thus far, but they were just trying to decide what this new drug would do. Well, the last drug we made was for ear, eyes, throat. So why don't we just say that this one heals joints and muscles? And then they chose the symptoms the drug could heal, as well as the side effects that they would say that the drug could cause. It was then agreed upon what size, color, and shape the pill would take. The pill was to be two-toned with little round capsules inside, since they felt it would be impressive and instill faith and trust in the pill. Next, a name was decided upon to promote the drug, and they discussed that the name should seem serious, authoritarian, and instill the very fear that it was supposed to cure. And then next was discussed how they could get the public to buy into it, such as a foundation. Yes, the foundation we created for the last one was great. Lots of people poured time and money into it. Free samples were to be given to doctors, advertising, etc. So you see, there, in the boardroom, the new drug was created, a boardroom drug, a designer drug, and as far as I could tell, there was no further research to be done whatsoever. It was a done deal, which just needed manufacturing. And it became clear to me why I was there after all, to learn this lesson. How fake and misguided things can get, and how I should not be beguiled. This lesson has often been a very sharp reminder to me. And after I learned a few new skills there, I was lifted out of that job and moved to a better full-time job. I just wanted to say here, sincere thanks to God, who's been so patiently leading me, and how I'm grateful that he's led me to Plainfield. And it's been causing a real learning curve for me, although I had been in Christian Science for a while. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy from Nebraska. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My phone is, it had the number of Nebraska, but tonight I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But I want to share my testimony very quick. I'm very grateful for Christian Science Independence for all the stuff that you put in your website. I've been working at the Midwest, and I have a situation. I did a contract with a company, and been participating in many Zoom. The contract say he would deliver the compensation to all the people that participate, and weeks pass by, and I will be checking somebody be checking my account here in North Carolina, and the money wasn't deposited. One the writings and the website, I recognize the wonderful voice of Mr. Gary, who was talking what you seek is seeking you. And I know that nothing can be missed in the divine mind. And I was listening to one of the round tables that Miss Florence was talking very beautiful, how the divine mind will take care of us. And I remember last week how she explained it, mathematical, how 1 + 1 is 2, but if we get 1 + 1, it'd be 3. You know, we have to learn this thing, and I just remember the way that Miss Florence, so I put it back because I was anxious about receiving the money, and a lot of the other people, we did the job, and nobody got paid. So I started working with the website, Psalm 91, and I load all the stuff, and something that Miss Mary Beth has said, that you have to do the work, we have to do the prayers, and I started doing is I quit worry about the money. So I quit worry. So today, when I got to North Carolina, the money was here. But the beautiful thing is what was blessed one, blessed everyone. Everyone that participates, it got paid. I'm so grateful for the practitioners, all these Christian Scientists Independent, Miss Mary Beth and Miss Florence. They are wonderful. They speak in a loving and kind manner, guiding us. It's the Christ. It's the Christ. And I just think this is a phenomenal thing. We, as a Christian Scientist, we have the right to know that we are protected, we are guided, and God is supplied in its abundance. Just not for us, but for every one of his children. I'm so grateful for this testimony meeting. I'm so grateful for the hymns tonight. And I'm very grateful for your practitioners, Miss Mary Beth and Miss Florence, for all the spiritual work they do for humanity and bringing these beautiful teachings of Mary Baker Eddy. That is the breath of life, and I'm grateful for your readings tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Chardell.
Hello. Thank you for the readings, trusting our future to God, the sword of the Spirit. Before coming to Plainfield, I used Science and Health for prayer and some known prayers from the Bible. Now, because of the Bible studies and almost daily reading of the Bible, I have a deep and heartfelt gratitude to share. I have been using the Bible much more, as well as Science and Health, and applying wonderful truths to any situation that may arise that I believe requires prayer to see there is only one power and all else is not true. Just recently, I heard about something concerning the welfare of children, and Jeremiah 29:11-13 came to mind. Quote, I know the thoughts I have toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. End quote. And there are others from Hebrews and Isaiah that fit. Thank you to our church leadership and the teachings here that give God all the power and glory with which to handle any issue that confronts me. Good evening to all.
Thank you. This is Bruce. When I was reading our lesson this week, I was really impressed with the experience of Asa, the king. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, and it goes on to what he said. What he did, took away the altars of the strange god, and the high places, and break down the images, and cut down the groves. It makes me wonder, like, if people had strange gods, why did they go all the way to have altars and high places and images and groves? Whatever. Sounds like a lot of human will trying to put it forth its ways. But here comes Asa, and he cuts them all down. Cuts down the altars and the high places and the images and the groves. Well, that doesn't sound like a gradual transition. It sounds more like a real bold move to clean everything up. And that reminds me of my experience here in the Plainfield Church, Christian Science Church, for which I'm very grateful. There's a reason why we're independent. It's because long ago, somebody took a real bold move to clean things up. And I must honestly say that's been my experience as well. When I first came here, well, you may not have recognized me. I had a lot of things to get cleaned up. But also, I had the tendency to want to, not to be too bold about it. Maybe just be rather tolerant of things that shouldn't be tolerated. But that's not what it was like here. It was a bold move to clean everything up. And I must say that when it did, I felt 100% better. When things are left undone and left unresolved, tolerated or whatever, it weighs on you. It doesn't do you very much good at all. But I'm so thankful then for those who did take the bold move to make sure everything was cleaned up. God has a very high standard, and it's something that we can hold in our thought and do everything in our effort to strive to accomplish, walk in that direction. God has a good plan for everyone. And I'm so thankful for finding here the Plainfield Church and holding on to the high standard and keeping it pure. Gary.
And that bold move that you talked about was taken by Mrs. Doris Evans, a practitioner in this church, and after we became independent, after we were kicked out of the organization for healing, she became a teacher. She took a bold move with all of us. She cleaned up our lives. She healed everything. And we are all so grateful for it. I remember as a very, very young child, I must have had a good Sunday school teacher, because I remember one day after playing hard, I suddenly became sick to my stomach and nauseous. I had to go inside and lay down, and I was in great pain. And the only thing I remembered about Sunday school was the 23rd Psalm. And I started repeating it to myself. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And even though I was, 4 or 5 years old, it meant something. It meant something to me. It meant that I could trust the Lord, that He was my shepherd, and that in trusting Him, I would not want any good thing. I would not be without any good thing, and that was my health too. And as I prayed and repeated, I remember within about 5 minutes, all the pain was gone, and I was back outside playing again. And it had a really good day for the rest of the day. But as I grew into adolescence and early adulthood and had other traumatic situations to deal with and meet, and had opportunities to go to doctors or to other people for help, that experience, remembering that experience, gave me the courage and the faith to trust God. And as a result, Christian Science healed me of many other things as later in my life. And I never really forgot that healing for that reason. It really did give me the courage and the faith to trust God. And that courage and faith to trust God has never been disappointed. I'm grateful to say. God led me to this church where I, fortunately, with the teaching of Mrs. Evans and the help of Mrs. Evans and others since then, I've been able to gain a greater understanding of why that trust in God is so well deserved and is so important for all of us to learn. I'm very grateful for Christian Science, for Mary Baker Eddy, for discovering it, giving it to the world. I'm grateful for all the help I've received from practitioners and members of this church. And Florence, thank you very much for those fine readings tonight, to remember that we can indeed and must indeed trust everything in our life to God. So good to be with you all tonight.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you very much for the readings tonight and the beautiful music. I want to express my gratitude tonight for learning to have faith in God, in His care, and building trust in His providence, and being healed of unbelief, years of unbelief. This lesson has been unfolding as I've been working regularly with a Plainfield practitioner and putting into practice what is given to me to work with. One of the greatest lessons is learning to lean on God and getting to know more of God at Plainfield, especially through our Bible studies, Bible lessons, and roundtables. My practitioner has been showing me through her prayers that the biblical promise, quote, "My times are in thy hand," end quote, from Psalms 31:15, is practical and can be relied upon when you do your best to live your life putting God first. The other day I received a professional call that was important but had not been scheduled. The timing of it was perfectly placed in my day that was very full and included being out and about. This has been a reoccurring business call over a year now, and I realized this last time that each time the exact moment was perfect for this call, even though they were not scheduled ahead of time. Every circumstance was different. Sometimes I'd be just getting into my car or about to leave the house, and our schedules both were very busy, and there was important to have some flexibility, but every single needed communication has unfolded perfectly. These lessons have been needed to help me to learn to lean on God at all times. And the nature of the business made it very difficult for me to control the outcome. And I know that it wasn't coincidence because this has been going on for a year now, almost a year. Each time I saw God's hand in it, and better than I could ever do. It has been a blessing to see this unfold in my life. I'm very grateful for my practitioner's support and for all the people who made it possible for us to be here today. And I'm grateful to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
Thank you, Florence, for those really very helpful readings. And thank you, Jared, for the inspiring music. I want to give gratitude to a practitioner I called recently. I was working and for the world and myself, my family, and I was actually working on trying to simplify some affairs in our lives, like we needed to refinance our home so that we wouldn't have to pay it for as long as we were paying it for. And I had some dental work that insurance companies would be paying for. Well, it was going on for a while, but it wasn't finishing. So I called a practitioner and asked for support and was told Psalms 37:23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Well, I heard of that, and it reminded me, yes, God was in control, and in all this, God's work is already complete. I know our teacher used to tell me, God has already done what you needed. You just have to see it, recognize it, and go forward. Well, soon after, I kept thinking, working with that, and praying to do the right thing. The refi loan was approved, and the dental work has been progressing. And then it got me to thinking about my home, my family, my son, and it was a shot in the arm, and it got me feeling like I knew what the right thing to do with him and moving along in his studies, and that I would do it. And so it came to the surface what was going on in his life, and we took steps, and we've been at least progressing him too. So these words of truth, they work not just for you, but for all your surroundings and I'm sure the world. Thank God for this help that's freely given here, this teaching and seeing Christianity and Christian Science work.
Thank you. Mary.
I have a few things to read tonight. The first from Virginia. Dear fellow members, I want to express my profound thanks for all the inspiring materials and services provided by this independent Christian Science church during this very special season of Thanksgiving and Christmas. There is nowhere else to be found the uplift gained from knowing scientifically that God is all and that our Father, Mother, God is in control, governing the universe and leading all to oneness and the peace and security which that brings. With much love and gratitude. And then Hawaii. I've been learning so much from the Plainfield Christian Science Church. It is remarkable the diversity of voices speaking and spreading the word. Recently, I've also been working with Gilbert Carpenter's article, A Right Attitude. This week, Retempering the Steel Within. It has been a successful tool for correction when mortal mind tries to persuade me from service to God. Yesterday was devoted to prayer and fasting. No TV, no YouTube, no news, no radio. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. Not sure you folks truly know what a lifeline Plainfield Christian Science Independent is to all those afar. With warmest regards. And a short note from Washington State. Thank you and to the Plainfield staff for the beautiful lessons on Sunday and Wednesday and the Bible study and roundtable. All are so inspiring and helpful. Much blessings and love to you all. And then this is a testimony from Massachusetts. To be able to stand and bear witness of God, of His loving care for all, to the great work of Mary Baker Eddy, and also to the tireless loving care of our practitioners here at the Plainfield Christian Science Church, is a precious gift indeed. I stand in awe. About 3 weeks ago, I called my practitioner, and while her phone was busy, she quickly returned my call. We spoke about many truths, and I felt fortified and ready to face the day. As I was about to leave my home, the thought came to open the window for some fresh air, even though it was in the low 30s. This seemed like a strange thing to do, but I obeyed. Later, about 4 p.m., I received a call from the manager of the building where I live. She asked if I was returning home soon, and I replied that I was on my way home. I was told that I would be unable to get into my apartment as the fire department was there. Apparently, sometime after I'd left, it was reported that there was a smell of gas. The fire department, with their high-tech reading equipment, had traced the smell to my apartment, with the highest readings just above the oven and cooktop. The source of the leak had not been found. I was told that I would not be able to remain in the building other than for a few minutes to get what I needed to stay elsewhere. Calling a friend at the last minute notice, I was warmly welcomed to stay whatever time was needed. It seemed everything that was needed was already taken care of. As we read in Isaiah 65, "Before you call, I have answered." Surely that was expressed in every way. The night before this happened, I and 3 apartments around me were awakened in the wee hours with a loud crashing sound. With everyone's acknowledgement that everyone was okay, we went back to bed. Little did we know until the next afternoon that this was the beginning of a last gas leak, a small explosion in the interior of our building. The fire department brought in a large fan to dispel the gas smells and took great strides to keep everyone calm and well. They were efficient in finding the leak behind my kitchen wall and to bring everything back to order once again. I am grateful for the fire department who took extreme care of all those living in this quad as well as all those in the area. The fire chief was quick to share what might have been, but was not. If I had not opened my window, the results would have been disastrous. With the loving care of our Father, Mother, God, He had already answered before any call was made, with love and safety, not only for myself, but all who lived in close proximity. I am so very grateful for my Plainfield practitioner who began her day in prayer and gratitude and was there meeting the needs of all callers, knowing that all needs are always met for everyone. I am so grateful to share this testimony of the omnipotence and great love of God. I am so grateful for those readings tonight about fear not and trusting our future to God. As one who suffered a great deal from fear most of my life, it was very comforting to hear those readings. I remember a while ago reading that in the Bible, fear not is mentioned over 80 times in the Bible. And some people have said that it's actually mentioned in various ways, 365 times, which would be a reminder for every day of the year. And I remember when reading that, and so really racked with fear, I realized to fear the way I was truly disobedience. I mean, over and over and over, it was God telling me, fear not. It was in the readings tonight, the beautiful citation, Isaiah 41. Fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. And I can remember memorizing those verses, Isaiah 41, 10 to 13, working with them every morning, noon, and night to feel God's presence and power, and also to know in myself that I wanted to be obedient to Him. And to be obedient to Him meant not to fear, but to trust Him with my whole heart, mind, and soul. And this began a great awakening, a great healing process in my life. I had also read, actually just this morning, about a pastor. When he was 11 years old, he memorized Hebrews 11, that whole chapter, which is also a chapter that was read tonight about faith, the substance of faith, and how all the verses of how all those people in the Bible who had had faith were healed and taken care of and cared for by God. And he said that as a pastor, all the training he'd had, all the seminary he had, nothing had helped him. Nothing had fortified him as much as memorizing that chapter, Hebrews 11 in the Bible. Such a beautiful chapter. So I'm so grateful here to be learning that with God there is nothing to fear. God is all in all. And if that is the truth, what is there to fear? I'm so very grateful for those beautiful readings, to hear all the testimonies of healing, and our beautiful music and hymns played tonight. So grateful to be with you all, and everyone have a good evening.
Thank you.